Hey all, noon class on Mondays. I forgot to go over something that you will need when you are preparing adjusting entries. So I wanted to take a quick moment to kind of go over what that looks like. And so one of the adjustments that we talked about was accruals. And most accruals look like this. You went to some sort of an expense with a debit, and then you went to a liability with a credit. That was the ability for us to accrue expenses. Just a quick refresher, that is the ability to accrue money that we owe that we want to put into the current period. For instance, those utility bills. We went to utility expense and then utilities payable. Another one that might come up both on the revenue side of an accrual and the expense is the ability to accrue interest. Both interest payable and I believe, like we saw in the example today, interest receivable. Now that's all and well if they go ahead and give us the figures, but so if they don't give us the figures, then you would need to do a manual calculation for interest. The formula for calculating interest is principal times rate times time. So what that means is the amount of the note, whether it be receivable or payable, the rate of interest that's being charged, and the time in which you're holding that note. So an example, if we were given a note for $10,000 at a 6% interest rate for 3 months, we would then take 3 over 12, which represents 3/12, and when you calculate that out, you get $150 per month. Our accrual would be, if it was a payable, a notes payable, would be a debit to interest payable, a debit to interest expense, got ahead of myself, for $150, and a credit to interest payable for $150. Now, if it had been on a notes receivable, like our example in class the other day, where they gave you the $250, we would debit interest receivable, and I'm abbreviating, for $150, and we would credit interest revenue for $150. That is how you do interest calculation. Principal times rate times time. Now, if you don't enter time and you just took the principal times the rate, that would give you interest for 1 year. In this case, $600. So when we do the time, we're breaking it out into increments of months. In this case, if I divide 600 by 12, I get $50 a month, times 3 equals the $150. And that's what this part of the calculation does for you. I know that in some of the homework problems in Chapter 4, you may or may not have to calculate interest, and I wanted you to give you the tool to be able to do that. Happy calculating!